Hi, and welcome to episode 2 of More Than Just a Website podcast. I'm Ed, and this is Paul, and we're from ReadySite. Today, we're talking about AI and what it actually means for your website. Not just the hype, not the buzzwords, just what you need to know as a business owner. For those listening for the first time, this podcast is really just two mates having a chat, sharing what we're seeing and learning to help you understand your website a bit better and where you might be able to improve it. So let's get started. Hey, Paul, how are you?
I'm good, Ed. How are you?
Good. So AI is everywhere right now. Everyone's talking about it. It's on everyone's ads at the moment. What does it actually mean for, say, a small business owner and their website?
Yeah, you're right. It is hype land. AI is the buzzword. If you say AI, everyone's eyes perk up. Well,
Yeah.
either
They go,
people,
"Oh, you're cool."
they'll either react that way, or they'll scurry away into the corner, like going, I don't want to know anything about it. It's too complicated, too complex, too whatever. So. Um, but yeah, it is proliferating society. It is here. It's here to stay. It's going to get more. So yeah, those people that scurry away into the corner and want to bury their heads in the sand, and you can keep doing that. It's totally fine. Uh, but yeah, essentially, it just I think when you hear the word when you hear the term AI, a lot of things come up in people's minds. Like as I said, it's either like a really cool thing or it's a really scary thing. And yes, it is a bit of both, and there's nuances in between. And so, what does the average business owner have to sort of think about AI? I think the first thing you need to do as a business owner when you're first coming into this space, or you're just hearing about it for the first time, or you're just starting to think, oh, maybe this I need to make some relevance to this in my business, is to just breathe, deep breath, and relax. Okay, just relax. Don't freak out. Don't stress. Just relax. And take a beat. Take a minute. Um, and just don't react to it in a positive or negative way. Just sort of go, okay, AI's here. Just got to accept it. So, so then, okay, how does this then apply to my business? And then you go from there. And you listen to podcasts like this, or there's many other experts out there as well that are talking about this, like Neil Patel. I listen to him a bit. He's sort of all over this space. And I will probably, yeah, talk a little bit about what he says in what I say. But essentially, all you have to think about AI, right, is just people are shifting from the traditional, just Google it, and they're shifting their search preference over to using an AI tool like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, et cetera, et cetera. From recent studies, the most popular one is ChatGPT. It's got like, I don't know, 1.8 billion people or users or something. It's the biggest. So a lot of people are using that to do their research, their general search and all that sort of stuff, and it's growing pretty much every day. Not to say that Google still has its place, definitely, but I've definitely noticed with my with clients is that their search volume has dropped in Google, and so now they're starting to think, okay, we've got to start now looking at how do we get found, or how do we get ChatGPT, for example, to mention us in answering people's questions. So that's
I
that's
think,
that's it. It's just a shift from
yeah, and it's that evolution. It's sort of
yeah,
from, it used to be, and for businesses, you have to evolve. And over time, you evolve. There
yeah,
was the pre-Facebook period to the post-Facebook period.
yeah,
And,
yeah, exactly.
the period of you would people would type in a search item, and then it was sort of more using their voice, so through Siri or the Google Assistant, and so you'd have to change the way sometimes your content was written or the keywords you're looking at for how someone would speak rather than how they would type, which was different. And now AI and with these, platforms, the same thing again. I think probably just another thing to jump back to do with AI is it's some people get scared by it and maybe only think of it as there are your three biggies or your ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, those sort of things. But we've been using automation and artificial intelligence for a long time. You look at Google Maps that you would
Mm,
put in an address and it would give you spit out the five directions based off certain parameters and that sort of thing. So I
mm,
think for those listening, it's not, don't be scared of it. There is a lot of noise out there
mm,
about it, and a lot of people saying if you're not using this, you're wrong or you're antiquated or this.
yeah.
It's like you were saying, Paul. It's just take a step back, have a deep breath, and what will actually be beneficial for your business,
Mm,
but also don't treat it like that's your, equivalent. You've got either your the same marketing level, the same web developer level. Use it as an assistant, and like you check anyone's work. If you had an assistant, you sort of it helps you with that initial putting things down on paper, and then from there, then you tweak it yourself. It's probably yeah. So that's probably my just like 2 cents regarding it at the first outset.
yeah, it is just a tool at the end of the day. And and you're right. It is. It's just part of the progression and the nature of a cha of always changing environment
Yeah.
in
So you
life.
mentioned, you're seeing, we're seeing some of our clients, um, their their web traffic's dropping, um, especially on Google, um, you know, and people are starting to use more ChatGPT to search for businesses instead. So what does that mean for, for a local business owner? You know, what does that actually mean for them?
Well, in terms of search traffic, if they're dropping in search traffic, yeah, it's real loss of sales and lead generation and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, that's that definitely has an effect on business, of course. So uh, I guess that it's still the intent of the searcher, right? So um, if you're a local, say, plumber, for example, in I don't know, uh,
On the Gold Coast.
yeah, I was trying to think of a Sydney location, a Sydney suburb like Woolloomooloo or something like
Yeah.
that, or yeah, I, um, or Newtown or something like that,
Yeah.
Plum Newtown or something like that. Then if uh, you know, you got to kind of think, and you got to also do some research around how people are finding you now. Like, are they using ChatGPT to find you, or are they still using, Google to find you? Um, and so I think what you need to think is you need to think, okay, my target market, um, the person who needs, plumbing services in Newtown, they will either go to Google or they'll go to use ChatGPT or one of the other. So then you need to sort of think, okay, I gotta be found on both of those now. So it's not just like one game board that you want to be found on. You need to be found on the second game board. So, and then that's just coming back to understanding, all right, so how do I get my business onto Google and how do I get my business onto AI? How do I get AI to crawl the content on my website? So your website is still super important. It's even more important now
Well, and that's the
because
key,
it
thinking about
needs,
local, and that's the key, Paul, thinking about local businesses that might, even cafes or whatever, that just have a Google listing almost, like just the business profile that has their address, their map location, and opening times. And sometimes they think that'll do me and drive them to Instagram to get, to look at the menu. But if they don't have a website, they're also not the AI platforms aren't they're using their search to pull from those websites.
Correct.
So that's also another big consideration for people that don't have one either,
Yeah,
or have a really old site that isn't able to be scanned too.
like if you're yeah, you're right. Like if you've just got a Google listing, like a lot of businesses do, and they think, oh yeah, that'll suffice, and I get a lot of my leads from that, and that's great. But yeah, but if you're wanting to step it up and move into using AI, then you need to have a website that has the content that then the AI can scrape and then deliver. Because somebody could be typing like because your potential target audience may not be using Google, right? So they'll be
Mm.
over on Chat and they might ask, oh, I live in such and such, or maybe ChatGPT already knows where they live because they've used it so many times. And they just go, I'm just looking, ChatGPT, can you tell me the best plumber in my area?
Yeah,
And then the plumber, the ChatGPT or whatever is going to go out and scrape the web and it's going to like pull up what it thinks is the best based on relevance and all the terms that AI needs to see that. It's not just it needs to have reference from a website and pulls references from a lot of different areas as you know. Um,
Hmm.
and so so it's kind of like if 50% of your audience are on Google, that's great, but you're leaving the other half just hanging if you don't have a website and if you're not having the content on there to for AI to scrape. So this just comes back to like you have to have a website. It just yeah, if you're a local business and you want to survive in this world and in this day and age, more so now so, then this is why a website is even super more important.
yeah,
And we're not just selling you a website, we're selling
no,
you more than a website. But
absolutely.
and you don't
If
even
only
like,
there was a
you don't have
podcast
to
named
buy a
after
website
them.
from us either. We're just
Yeah,
telling you that if you're a small business, if you're a business owner, you have to have a website in today's landscape. You just can't get away with the old like, oh yeah, I've got a Facebook page and I've got a Google listing, and that's they'll do now. So, but
yeah,
no, that's changed as business does always change. So,
yeah. Oh,
um,
100%. And that
so
and that's right. And the basics still matter and describe what you do, your location. A lot of mistakes I think some people make on their websites, and I know when I go to certain websites, and you sort of see it in with creative agencies or um, architects or something. They have these really obscure and funky websites and everything, but there's no information on them, and or it's really hard to find the information,
yeah,
and it's obscure, and you're jumping all over it, and things like that. Just that also impacts it too. And so you just need to be clear in what you're saying, and people will find you, but keep it simple, stupid. Like it's you can still make a really lovely website and aesthetically pleasing, but it doesn't need to have things flying in over the side. And I think we talked about the last podcast about the carousel or the slider or something, and you've banned me from ever using those again. And I totally agree. Like
yes.
what I think is attractive, it just doesn't work, and it isn't actually best practice either.
Hmm. I mean, there are I think CSS sliders are coming, so that they'll be okay for to help out with load speed performance. But at the moment,
Yeah.
yeah, they're horrible. But yeah, they don't. I think even with CSS sliders, they're probably not even going to convert that well anyway. So because they
So in
just
terms of, talking about search, and you mentioned, what are your thoughts of, do you reckon SEO is dead, or now that AI is taking over, or, and say for small businesses out there listening, or any business really, is that something they should be worried about? And because there's so much noise at the moment about AI, is that sort of divert all attention to try and generate AI search, or what are your thoughts on SEO?
so yeah. I yeah I listened to Neil Patel this morning, and he's all like he's got a massive team and all this stuff, and he's done a lot of research in this, so he's a very good reference, and I think you should look him up to those who are listening and watching. But yeah, he says that even if you're say ranking in number one or two or three spot organically in Google, doesn't mean that you're going to be found in AI search. So you may so you may be found there, but and so is SEO dead for Google way like side? Then I don't think so. But it's just again, it's just changing. It's just it's not dead. I don't think it's dead. Definitely not. It's just now that you have to consider, okay, there's another, as Neil Patel put it very quite eloquent. I have to quote him on this, but he said that there's two game boards now. It's not just the one game board, which is Google. It's now two game boards. So it's like, yeah, it's the Google game board and the AI game board. And you have to be playing on both game boards. You have to be on both. So what I learned is that AI, still relies on, just like Google, still relies on relevant,
Yeah.
updated content. And it has to be original, and it has to be but it also has to be sourced. Just like in the old days of, like, well, not in the old days of SEO, it's like, if you had like say if you had an article on your website, and it was just only on your website, then it would be very hard for, when Google came and crawled it and it sort of said like, yeah, it's a good article. But what Google then did is it looked for, okay, does this article get referenced from, say, Reddit or
Yeah.
from, say, other website, like high ranking sort of high authority websites, so it would look out beyond that article and go like, okay, well, is this article mentioned somewhere else, right? And is it mentioned in multiple places? Like it could be on your social media. You could have a YouTube channel and you could have mentioned in that.
Yeah.
You could have it on a Reddit thread. You could have it on a Facebook feed, a LinkedIn feed. So it's all pointing back to this, it's all referencing back to this one article. And so that's what Google would then go, okay, well, and then we call those backlinks, right? So
Yeah.
so they were kind of like this peer, I guess, peer review, I guess you
Yeah.
could sort of say, sort of thing. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, well,
Yeah.
so Google
100%.
would be like, oh, okay, it's not just on this website. It's out there. It's like amongst the world, right? And so it's exactly the same for AI as well now, because it will look at, it will go and scrape the content, but it will go like, okay, is it mentioned on Reddit or YouTube or like all these other places?
Mm.
Uh, and then it will pretty much just find like the top best that it can find, the most relevant, the most up-to-date content, and then we'll deliver that into the results.
I think also the
So
reasoning's slightly different, where it's sort of the, in the past it was keywords was, splatter your page with keywords everywhere and, make sure they're in the headings and, and dotted throughout, because that's
which
sort
is
of
still
what
important.
quickly scored and that sort of thing. But I think it's ensuring your content, and it goes back to everything you do, is the more relevant you make it, think about who your customer is and are you answering their questions
Yes. Question.
when, are you answering their questions? Is your website actually providing the answers that your customers are looking for? And
Correct.
or are you providing the solutions to the questions that someone is in your position? So that's always what you
Yeah.
just got to consider that, in a way, and it also helps you if someone's come into your website that isn't coming from search or AI or, from a thing. It's just it's building that trust and that, relationship with the customer. So always have that in the back of your mind that, when you're looking at your content, are you answering a potential question? Are you providing a solution? Are you identifying what the problem is that the customer has? And if you do that, then that'll also help you be that trust source that other sites will start to use because they agree with your position, that then AI will pull as well. So sometimes it was just, and I've written stuff in the past where I just splattered things with keywords and tried to do it, and it sort of did rank quite well. But now, and it probably wasn't the most effective thing, and it probably wasn't the most well-written article. But those are sort of the tips moving forward as well.
Yeah, one simple tip. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, the question thing is. I'm glad you raised that, Ed, because that is super important, right? And this is what I see. So this is one simple fix that anyone can do. So anyone who's listening right now, this is one simple fix you can do right now to improve not only your Google rankings, but also your AI search, right? Is on your service pages on your website, add an FAQ section, right? And don't just like, I don't know, randomly put like so FAQ stands for frequently asked questions. So, and ideally they should, how I design them is, put them in an accordion sort of style so they click, opens up and all that stuff. And so, yeah, and then so if you really want to be good at this, right, if you is to actually, analyze, all right, so over the last month for this particular service, say let's go back to the plumbing
Mm.
Newtown, whatever, plumber in Newtown. There's a service which is, like I don't know, oh God, I'm not a plumber. Like water leak or
Blogging a toilet or something. I don't know.
blocked toilet, yeah,
Yeah.
blocked toilet, something like that. So you would think, okay, let's sit down for like 10 minutes, and just have a think. All right, how many and get a pen and piece of paper or like, your computer or whatever,
Yeah.
and just go, okay, what are the questions I get mainly asked about this? Because most likely, the questions you get asked on a daily basis for that particular service, people are typing that into ChatGPT or into Google, right? So just go, okay, how all the questions that I get asked, and there could be like, it doesn't have to be all like, a whole
Yeah.
bunch of,
What's
doesn't
my
have to be
first
like
step to
30,
unblocking a
don't,
toilet?
don't have to be like
Can I do
30
it myself?
questions. You don't have to answer 30 questions. You can if you
Yeah.
want, but just start with maybe like, say 5 to 8 to start with. If you
Mm.
your top questions that you get asked, right? And then write them down, the question, so the full question, so how people would ask it, like how do you actually unblock a toilet, or how long does it take, or like
Mm.
how much does it cost, or like
Yeah.
you just start to think about, okay, well, yeah, what do I get asked? And if you don't know, just think like, because you're a professional, right? You're a
Yeah.
plumber or you're a professional in your industry. So just think, okay, what kind of questions would I ask me if I
Yeah.
was looking for my service? So
Yeah.
just go, okay, just think about that, write it down, and then get the questions done. You can do this with AI as well. Use ChatGPT. It's a great
Yeah.
tool for that. And just go, and then you could just type out your main questions, and then you could say, oh, can you just write the answers for them to like, for me? And then you would tweak them to make them, personalized and
Mm.
and put them in. And then put those on your website on every service page, right? So you just
Yeah.
do one for every single service page. And even you could do a general one for your homepage, just a very generalist, like what times do you open, that sort of, not very
Mm.
specific to a service, but more just general, like for your business. And then put one on your about page, so it's more about, answering, how long have you been in business and all this sort of stuff like that, and then that just by doing that alone is going to be a step up in the right direction. It may even help, boost you up in search for Google. And there's some other technical stuff I could talk about, like adding proper schema, so FAQ schema to the website, like making sure that Google sees the FAQs in a you may want to ask your developer about adding FAQ schema to those pages once you've added
Mm.
those FAQs. Um, that's a little bit more technical, and that kind of gets you a little bit more, sort of further up the ladder in terms of the technical side. But if
And I think these are all
you're
things
not
that
sure
we're,
about that, we can help you out with that as well.
yeah,
Um,
100%. And I think it's sort of
so,
something that what we sort of pride ourselves on is, and give it away from the title of this podcast, um, more than just a website, is we the clients we work with, and I think it's just our mentality. We want to help you. We want to help you in business, and there's no. You can have a sexy website and it looks great, but does it perform? Does it actually do what it's designed to do? Is it like, is it like a Ferrari, but it's just the body of a Ferrari, but has no engine in it? Like, so
yeah.
we'll help you with that. And, one thing we'll do is if you go, okay, what are your questions? "Oh, I don't know. I don't know what to ask." We'll help you. We'll sit down with you and go through those questions. And, especially for the plumbers out there, I'm not a plumber. I wouldn't have a clue. So I've got 1,000 questions you need to answer if I'm ordering a plumber.
Yeah.
And actually, electrician, any tradesman, any technical skill, there is 1,000 questions I'd ask. So we'll help you with that process too. And I think that's sort of what you need, is to have that. Yeah, someone creates the asset for you, but also wants to help your business grow. And I think that's sort of something we can do, with them as well.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be, when it comes to website designs, that doesn't necessarily have to be a completely new overhaul or a whole new website per se. But it's just adding, those little elements. You could have, yeah, as Ed said, you could have a Ferrari of a website may look really beautiful. But it's just adding those little extra tweaks to help, Google and AI understand your website better. And of course, adding good articles, good blog posts, all that sort of stuff,
Hmm.
up to date. I will also mention that you may have already really good content on your website, like in the form of blog posts, high authority, that are getting good rankings. But again, they may not be found in AI, right? Um, so why is it not being found in AI? It's probably because that, you've published that article like, 3 years ago and you just haven't
Hmm.
updated it. You haven't updated it with, fresh, say,
Content. Yeah.
latest data or latest information to support. So it could be a really good blog post 3 years ago and it could rank well. But yeah, all you need to do is just go back to that blog post again and just rehash, like not even change the
Hmm.
whole thing, but you just need to go through and update it so that it's modern, up to date data and getting fresh content
Yeah.
that is relevant to that blog post. So, you don't even have to maybe even go and write new blog posts. You could just go and address some of your older, well-performing blog posts that are getting traffic, and then you just need to sort of modify those so that it's fresh and up to date. Then AI is going to go, oh, okay, yeah, I can see that there's a new, well, there's an old, it's an old blog post, but
Yeah.
because there's a, you know, here's something technical for you, but in your website, if you've got this set up correctly, there's like a little bit of meta tag that shows the latest, so the published date, right? And then the updated date. So if they're the same, so the published date is the same as the update date, then that means that, you haven't really done any updates to it. But as soon as you make changes to that blog post, that little meta tag will change from, update date will change to the latest date. And so that then helps, when AI is going through and crawling pages, it's going to see that tag, that meta tag, and go, oh, okay, well, this content has been, say, recently updated because it's got a more recent update than its published
Yeah.
date. So there's a difference, right? So, and then so just even that little thing is gonna help. So anyway, just wanted to
So
touch.
regarding content, if we, stay on that point, what do you think about, using AI to write content for a website? Is it, you know, from a developer perspective and, some of the technical skill you have, is it a good idea for small businesses? Because I can answer it from a marketing perspective, but from a technical perspective, what's your thoughts on that?
I'm I'm curious to hear what you think about that. It's a good question, but from your perspective, what do you think? I mean, from your
Well,
market.
I think it just the problem people use, and you sort of see it, is that people just think, oh, a lot of articles you read, and you see it with posts as well. It's just looks like it's copied and paste, and it doesn't sound like the person. Or if you're used to reading someone's content on a website, and then you can sort of tell immediately that it's sort of now AI generated because it sort of waffles on a bit too much. Um, it doesn't feel genuine, or it feels a little bit generic. And sometimes it just doesn't have the personality of what the business is. Or I think that sort of like you sort of see, and I think it's about in a way creating consistency. So if you had,
Mm.
a talking head type of post on Instagram or TikTok where it's the business owner talking about like us now, for example, having a chat, and then you went and read something on a website and it's going, well, that sounds completely different in how they talk compared to how it is. You sort of see it. You sort of lose that credibility in a way. And I think yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. Use it as a starting point. Um, and it's good to put something on paper. And I always find it hard to write from a blank piece of paper. Um, but then just put your tweak to it. And then make sure that it's relevant to your customers and the people that you are trying to target, because that goes back to the search perspective. Don't think that because it's written by AI is going to love to read it itself, and you think it's written by ChatGPT, so ChatGPT is going to find that content. Doesn't work like that. So just make
Correct.
sure it's
Correct.
and I definitely use it to speed things up, to write things myself, but I'll always tweak it into my tone and how I like to talk, and you know, so that's sort of yeah, probably my big thing from there. But then from a website building perspective, what would you the AI tools can build websites in minutes, so why would people use us if they can do it through there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of AI slop. There's it's a bit of a it's a term. It's a term, AI slop. Um, is that yes, it's this sort of generic, you know, I mean, yes, you can go to a design, like you can go to ChatGPT and say, oh, can you just, I'm a plumber in Newtown and I need a new website. And can you just, give me the code for it? You can definitely do that, right? And then give me, and then it will give you the code, and then you go slap it in somewhere and you can see it visually, or you can even ask it to give you a visual representation in an image or something like that, or use another AI tool. Um, like Google Stitch, for example, is a good example. Don't, like, I use Google Stitch personally. Like I use it to just flesh out designs. I think it's great for that. Do I do I use it as a final product when I just put in the first prompt? No, I don't. No. Again, you got to put your own thing into it. Just like as Ed said, when it comes to writing content, you've got, use it as a starting point for sure, but then you just sort of tweak from that. So, um, but at ReadySite, we've already got some pre-made websites that we know, are really good and nicely designed and very easy and ready to go sort of thing. That look great. So and they're not designed with AI. They're actually designed from humans. So, you know, um, but it is getting better. AI is getting better. I gotta say, like I was using Google Stitch, like several months ago, and I'd ask it to do a design for me, and it'd just be like boxes, and it'd be horrible, it'd be a horrible design, and I could understand at that point most people would probably like, yeah, that's that might be good enough or whatever. But in some cases it can be good enough for where you're at, but again, it's not bringing you in, it's not bringing you out in it. It's just this computer language.
Mm.
It's not speaking in your voice, your language. So from a
But it's
design
also,
point, you kind of want to, bring it back to how you are, how your business is. So and
I think also the
we
other
look
thing
into it.
too, yeah, it's great. It can build a site, like you put it in, but that sort of, you've just given it the one prompt or, and it's just churned something out and sort of just AI vomit, puts it out. Yep, cool, create a website. But then you think, oh, okay, cool, I've got a website, but is it actually built properly behind the scenes? Like,
Yeah.
is it, are the connections correct? Is it, if you click this button, does it get you to here? If it, will it send an automated email, not send it out 100 times to someone? Or, then what's the security around that as well? Can
Yeah.
someone hack into it? So there's so much more goes into the site that, are you, just talking to the customer or a client?
Mm.
Do you have that skill set to be able to handle it? Or then would you go into ChatGPT and ask, how do I do this? Or, and build something. I think that's where, like, if you've got the skill set, yeah, fine, you can do it yourself. Well, go for it.
Mm.
But I think that's sort of the benefit of having someone that's there, like yourself, Paul, and us, that
Mm.
knows how to connect the dots and to give you a secure package that, here you go, you have something that and you have someone at the end of the line that if something goes wrong, they're there, rather
Mm.
than, well, how I can't find this line of code that has an error in it and
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff as well. So I think that's sort of just something that people need to be aware of, that yes, it can produce a page fast. Yes, it can spit out something that might look really impressive, but is it actually effective? Is it, is it going to do what you need it to do from a customer's perspective, accessing the site? And if something goes wrong, what happens? And
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
it actually built perfectly? And I think that's sort of the guarantee that we have, that, if you don't like the website that we've built, and we know you're going to love it and it's going to work well, you get 110% back. Like, we've got a money back guarantee. So it's sort of, I think that's probably what AI can't do, but it's not putting it down. I think it's fantastic and I use it a lot, but just be mindful of those things as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to sort of touch on just the content side of things that you were talking about. Um, is that, yeah, when you're um, with what you get out of, ChatGPT or whatever, when you type in, can you make me a blog post to address this particular question or whatever? So that's a good starting point, obviously. But another good starting point is like you may already have, say, written blog posts or content that you have on your current site, or even somewhere else, maybe in LinkedIn or Facebook, whatever. You may have done small posts or stuff like that. So what you can do is um, you can copy, that content out of those platforms, and then basically when you're writing the prompt for ChatGPT, you can actually just upload or even just like, yeah, just copy and paste that text into the prompt and say, this is what I've written previously. This is the tone I use. This is the kind of, mannerisms I bring in through my writing. So can you make the response, can you make what you output in this style? So then you're kind of training it at
Yeah.
that point to sort of go, okay, look at my content that I've already got. And this is pre AI. This is all that you've written out of your own mind, out of your own creation. So yeah, you can use that as a reference point. A lot of people do that. They get their old content and then they import it in and say, can you analyze the style and the tone and and everything that you write from now on, can you put it into that tone? So then it's not just like this generic stuff that you're getting, it's actually written more in the tone of
Yeah.
you. So it makes that process a little bit more easier and faster, than having to just, get the first initial draft and then having to go through and put your own stuff into
Yeah.
it. But I find that another technique for writing content as well, and that AI won't do for you when you're writing stuff, is case studies. So just when you're writing a blog post about a specific, like answering a specific question, or you may want to think about, or I recommend that you put in maybe just a section in there of a case study of where you helped a particular client with that specific thing. They came to you and um, with this problem, and then like you're writing that in your perspective, like this is how you helped them, and even title it, put the title,
Mm.
a case study or something. And that's another good thing to put on, your service pages as well. So,
Oh, 100%. All right. So if business owners, listening to this now and is worried about falling behind um, with AI and getting on the AI train, what's one thing they should focus on at the moment?
well, I mean, I think um, if it really comes back to that question of, when you were talking about design before, it's like anybody can go and build a website, right? But do you have the necessary skills to really, do that? Like if you're a plumber, are you going to, if somebody comes to you and says like, oh, I want to, I've got a hose leak in my car, right? Like it's pl kind of the same. It's like plumbing, right? It's like plumbing for a car, plumbing for a house. You get a hose leak or something. No, you would say like, well, actually, you need to go see a mechanic, because that's a mechanic's job to do that. That's more of a realm of, they deal with cars, plumbing, those plumbing issues. I deal with houses and all that, and the plumbing stuff in that. So it's really kind of, okay, the first thing you need to understand as a business owner, and if you're thinking if you're falling behind, then you got, I don't know, you got three choices basically. You can go run and put your head in the sand. You could tackle it yourself, and get into just doing some of the things we've already sort of recommended, like
Mm.
just getting the basics right, making sure that your website, making sure you have a website, making sure that your service pages and everything and all your contact details and everything are very easily visible on the website. So there's some very basic beginning blocks for you. But but then you got to sort of also ask yourself, like, well, do I really want to do this stuff? Do I want to be bogged down? Like I've just come out from a full day of plumbing and I've come home and I've got to do the books. Now do I want to now sacrifice another hour or 2 hours of my time to learn about
Yeah.
AI or even do stuff on my website? So then you got to think, oh, I might as well just I should just outsource this, just
Mm.
get somebody else like, Ed or I to do it for you. So you don't have to think about it. You don't have to do it. You can just get on with your day to day, your job.
Focus on what you
And
do best
yeah,
and
focus on what
focus
you
on your
do best.
business. And I think that is something that people are, there's new tools popping up all the time. Everyone's chasing them and
Oh, yeah.
going, oh, do this, try this. Like,
Shiny object syndrome.
and you can just get stuck and all of a sudden 3 hours have gone by and you know, you've diverted what your core focus is. And I think that's sometimes people need to remember, like just focus on your business, focus on what you do the best, still learn about this and be aware of things, but work out what ones
Yes.
actually are suitable for your business. but outsource it to someone that can still use that, but that'll save you so much more money in the long run because you're not, you know, losing time on your business.
Hmm. Or it could be time away from the kids or your
Yeah,
wife
100%.
or, you know, hanging out with friends or something. It's just that, yeah. It really just comes back to what you value and how you value the your time. So and
Oh, absolutely.
um yeah, like if I've got a dental issue, then I'm not trying to do drilling and stuff myself. And like no, I
Yeah.
go to the dentist, or if I have something wrong with my body or something, I go to a doctor and uh, you don't try and sort of fix everything or try and fix everything yourself, because we can't possibly be experts in everything. Um, so it really just comes back to that decision of like, yeah, well, do I, you could not even care about AI, but you could just find somebody to work with to team up with somebody that does know all about AI and already has looked at all the shiny objects and has discarded a lot of that stuff and has already gone through the process of understanding what a website needs for AI and also for Google and you just sort of go, okay, I'll just hand that over, you know, um, and just there's obviously a level of trust there, and it's good to know the general basics of what's going on. And
Yeah.
if you work with us, then we give you that. We educate you as part of the process. We're not just like um, we tell you why we're doing something. We're not just sort
Yeah.
of going on and
Not just,
slapping
yeah,
on
exactly.
something like we say, okay, we're doing this for this particular reason. This is why, we're putting FAQs on all your service pages because that's going to help your search rankings, with questions and also with AI. So we kind of give you that education and that feedback. So then you're kind of knowing, but you're not having to get bogged down in it. And that's the difference, That's
And
the
then also, like you said, talking about the content and the blogs and that sort of stuff, we can either write it and create the content for you as well, or we can show you this is what you can do yourself. Like this is the tool you should use for this. And
yeah,
it's like even installing, say, we can assist to install an AI chatbot, on your website that could capture leads after hours or things like that that give you that assistance. Then in the long run, you're using that, but you don't need to worry about setting it up yourself.
yeah.
And I think that's sort of, you know, some people get bogged down in the AI this, and I've got to use the AI. And
Yeah. Got to get onto this AI bandwagon.
yeah, but it's sort of, do you take your car to the mechanic or do you do it yourself? Now, you might be good on the tools and you might think you know what you're doing, but is it more efficient to take it to a mechanic? Well, and then they can use all the technology on your car to fix it. So in a similar way, it's like that
I
too.
mean,
Like, you
you and
need
I,
it.
I mean, you and I could probably change the oil in our car, right? Or the air filter, or
Yeah, I'd probably ask
we
Claude.
could probably do that stuff, right? But again, it just comes back to like, do we really actually want to spend the time doing it, or do we
Yeah,
just take it to somebody who does it all the time and just does it really quickly, and we can just, so we can then focus that time on doing the things that we actually want to be
yeah.
doing. So yeah,
No,
sorry, I cut
exactly.
you off there.
No, no,
You were on a really good train of thought there,
and then like,
but
what do you think of, and I know it's such a topic at the moment because you see people losing jobs and that sort of thing, but for small businesses out there worried about AI and replacing the industry, um, how does that affect how they present themselves online? Like, I sort of feel that if you're authentic, you don't overpromise and underdeliver. You have a modern look and feel so people know your business is still current. I think that's important, and that trust and the relationship. But yeah, probably from a website perspective, what do you think um, regarding that? Like, I personally don't think AI is going to replace industries. Um, Even copywriters, sort of, I think, still have a place if they can effectively know what their customer needs and sort of be proactive in certain things, which is something AI can't do. But yeah, from a website perspective, how does someone sort of, I don't know, like absorb that risk potentially?
Uh, there's it's kind of a big question. I mean, when you were saying like, AI was going to take jobs, and there's that whole sort of thing, and I think to a degree it will. It might take out lower level sort of admin jobs. I don't know, maybe even, like legal assistance, that sort of thing, where that's a, but I think at a high level, I think, it's not going to replace it's not going to replace everything. It's not going to replace, our friend the plumber from Newtown.
No,
He's definitely going to stay in his job for quite, until a robot or something can actually do an equivalent task, which I think we're years and years away from. So I think as a plumber, electrician, your local trades, all that stuff, while we still have
I
cars.
think it's going to create more
So
business for people.
it's
I,
really,
like I sort of view the more people use AI, the more business this is actually going to create because people are going to make mistakes that
yeah,
they're going to think
yeah,
they're
yeah,
the full expert. Like you
for
sort of look
sure.
at it as, go back to old mate the plumber. Like when YouTube videos, people put up like, this is how you change a washer or this is how you do this. And,
Yeah, yeah.
the evolution of man, we aren't that smart. And, even though you're watching a video, you still put it around the wrong way or don't tighten it up well enough or whatever. And then all of a sudden the pipe explodes and old mate plumber's coming in and making twice the amount than a simple washer change. So I reckon, and like you said, legal assistance, there's been a couple of cases where some lawyers have used AI to write certain briefs and it's been
It's
completely
true.
wrong and misquoted and stuff. So I think
That's
it's
it's
this
true. Yeah.
going in blind and thinking that's, the gospel, I don't think is necessarily, I reckon it's going to create more business or
I
like more work.
Yeah, yeah. I
So if
agree.
anyone's listening, build your website with AI and we'll come in and fix it for
That's
you.
right. Yeah, yeah. Go build it with AI for sure, and then we'll come and fix it all. Yeah. But yeah. I mean, you're right. It's like I think when it comes to relevance of websites, like yes, there's probably going to be more like all these lower. Like I have heard that some of the big tech companies are laying off hundreds
Yeah,
of thousands of staff, right? And then all these lower level engineers and stuff. So they're like they're all probably scrambling trying to get work. But I think that they're if they're savvy enough, they'll probably start their own businesses and just go, okay, well, we know that there's all this AI slop happening, and so
mm,
we can just pivot and position ourselves as somebody who can fix that for a fee.
yeah,
It's like yeah, it's like it could be, like as a copywriter, as you said, it's like, somebody could generate copy with AI, but then they could then send that copy to a copywriter and say, can you please review this so that
yeah,
it's not just full of in
yeah. Has
you
more
know
personality.
infactional in well yeah in fact so the copywriter is probably doing less work, but they're doing their work in a different way. They're more like looking at the content they're given and looking at it more like, okay, is it structurally sound? Does it sound and has the tone? Is it factually right if there's any reference to,
Yeah,
actual studies or whatever thing, is it actually properly linking out to, and that's another thing that AI doesn't do as well, is it doesn't internally link things
yeah,
inside your website. So you got to go and actually do that yourself.
yeah, correct.
You want to have backlinks going to different articles that reference within your website, but you also want to have, a link that goes out to a reputable source
Mm.
so that you're sourcing information from somewhere reputable. So it's you know. So but the AI doesn't do all that. It doesn't give you those linking references. So there's a whole human element still to all of the AI stuff. So I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to replace. It will just change things. It's just
Yeah.
changing things.
And I think from
It's not like
businesses as well, and back to sort of the question I was asking you, but I'll answer some of it myself, um, is in any business, you need to think of a relationship with a customer being, or sorry, the interaction with the customer being a relationship rather than transactional. And if you build a relationship with a customer or a potential customer, it builds trust. And if you're hands-on and you're in the business, you'll build trust and people will come back. It is sort of like that with AI. AI is very transactional. AI doesn't build a relationship with you, doesn't preempt what you're going to think, doesn't think, oh, you're thinking down this path. How about we consider some alternative options that might fit yours? It's very this is the question I've asked, and it's a very one-dimensional and transactional response. So
mm,
make sure that, with your website and with your communication and your content, that you really dial up who you are, your story, your customer. So why why someone should choose you over someone else.
yeah,
And if you build that up and be more human online, it's something that AI it's not. And
yeah,
I think we're going to get to the point where, you know, in you look at trends and the evolution. I remember when a mobile phone went to be really tiny and now they're massive again.
that's true.
And it's going to be that where people want full automation on things, but then people want to come back to knowing there's actually a human behind it because they can build that trust with them. So I think that's sort of something um, to really consider.
Yeah, very valid points there. Very, very, very. I think you're right. I think it's human beings crave human beings. We're not craving robot relationships. We're craving interpersonal relationships with other human beings.
Yeah.
And I don't think we will ever be able to achieve that. We might be able to mimic it AI could probably match and mimic it. And, AI is very good at copying and mimicking. But it can't be original. It can't create out of thin air. It's not like something that can be take an initial thought of a concept and then just bringing it out into a form, into an actual physical form. Um, it's just as you said, it's that one dimension transaction relationship, and yeah, and human beings are so much more nuanced and more deeper and more, it's just, and so I think, there's going to be more, I think, I'm going to make a prediction here, but yeah, we're going to probably go towards this AI stuff, and it's going to make people think like, oh, I think, um, uh, yeah, all this AI stuff's really important, but then just, we're craving human beings again, right?
Yeah.
So we
Oh,
use
100%.
AI for a specific thing, and then we'll hand it over to a human being to bring in the nuance. So anyway, that's
Yeah.
kind of my prediction is that yeah, we're going to sort of we're so full on AI right now, and everything's AI. Wah!
Yeah.
It's like just AI craze, just hype. But I think eventually people are going to be like, okay, just
Actually, I
go for
want
it.
someone. Yeah.
I just want somebody, just a human being. I just want to talk to a human being now, rather than just and it could be like, they'll do their initial, somebody might do their initial research through AI, for
Mm.
service and business.
Yeah.
But there will be a point where they go, okay, I've had enough dealing with AI now. I've got to actually go and speak to the person that I've been reading about.
Yeah.
I've got to actually go talk to them. I can't just sort of have this AI thing going on forever. So, and that's actually generally what happened. That's
And
happened
it's probably to
ever, ever, ever.
show my age. But I remember
Show us
when
your
you had to
age.
do an
Put it up
assignment
on
back in
a
my
piece of
age,
paper.
but um, having to an essay at school and you had to write your references because you were using books and everything to find quotes to talk about it. But then the internet really kicked off then, and you could search for things, and you were
Yes.
getting obscure sites that had nothing, and then you had to cross-check, is that actually correct, and that sort of thing. And I think that's the age now. It's sort of, yeah, it might look good. You look at most of my LinkedIn feed is I wrote this, I gave this prompt to ChatGPT, and this is the errors it came back with, and that sort of stuff. So I think
Mhm.
the key takeaways are, for yes, embrace it, but use it as an assistant and to help improve efficiencies, but don't go, okay, there we go, that's done, and wash your hands with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then from a website perspective, speak to someone like Paul, speak to me. You know, Paul will sort out the website so it's perfectly. I'll look at it from the business sense and make sure your content's actually effective as well. So I think they're
Mhm.
the key things. Have you got any last little tidbits before we sign off?
I think at the end of the day, it's as a business owner, if you're watching this and you're like, oh yeah, I'm freaking out about this AI thing, and I know I need to be in there, and I know I need to do something about it, and I know I need to get my website sort of, fixed and all this sort of stuff. The first thing you need to do is just take a beat. Just chill. Okay, just relax. It's not the end of the world. It's just and just and then just start, just like any journey, one step at a time. Book a call with us, book a meeting with Ed, and we can just chat. It's no obligation. You don't have to work with us. Just you could just even just get your dump your thoughts or even your fears out on Ed and me, and just go through, just go through that beginning first steps. But just the first thing, just take a breath, look outside. Nothing's happening. It's just beautiful out there. Just chill, just relax, and then just go, okay, all right, let's move step one, two, three, contact ready site.
Absolutely. Go to
Or
readysite.com.au.
like,
Hello at
okay, we're pumping
readysite.com.au.
our own horn here, yes, but
Yeah.
that's just our job, right? But you may have a developer that you work with or a friend or whatever. Just go have a chat to them. Just sit down, just go, okay, I'm overwhelmed with this stuff. Can we just go through this together? Just take a beat and just
Yeah.
don't stress. And I think that's probably um yeah, that's my big takeaway. Over
Yeah.
to you.
Nice. Awesome. Well,
To your finishing.
thank yeah. So thanks for listening to episode 2 of More Than Just a Website podcast. Hopefully this gives you a clearer understanding of what AI actually means for your website and maybe a few ideas about where things are heading or where we feel they're heading. So if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you follow the podcast, and if there's a topic you'd like to cover or like us to cover in the future, just let us know, send us an email or drop it in the comments. So I'm Ed, this is Paul from ReadySite. And remember, a website should do more than just exist. It should actually help your business grow. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See you then.